Hey friends, it's Thursday. That means it's time for the Tarot Topic newsletter recap. Did you get the Tarot Topics newsletter? It should come into your inbox every Wednesday. Different topic every week. That's why we call it the Tarot Topics newsletter. Then we come on here on Thursday and do readings about the topic. If you haven't read it, if you haven't subscribed, there are links to do that, as well as a link to get a reading with me right in the description. It's so good to see all of you here. And of course, as always, a special shout out to the members and the moderators. So this week's newsletter, what we're going to be talking about today, the topic is up for interpretation. And it was actually based on an experience I had personally where someone said something to me that really triggered me, and I really wanted to come back with and I was like, no, wait a minute. This person always has my best interest at heart. I have no reason to believe this is, this person's saying something mean to me. Let me ask about it. And instead of doing what do you mean by that? Which never works. I was like, could you say that in different words so I understand what you're saying? And they did. And it was completely innocuous, true, and helpful, what it was they were trying to say. I had just completely misunderstood it. So that's what caused this newsletter to happen. But that caused me to think about how we communicate with spirit in magic. So I wrote about that. And how we interpret tarot cards, recognizing that, there's so many different possibilities. So communication in the world of tarot is so interesting because it's all about communication with spirit, communication with one another, so much. And so that's what the newsletter is about this week. Hey, Bhakti Shakti, good to see you. Thank you. So let's hop right on over and start doing some readings. And as you can see, I'm working once again with Crystal Visions Tarot, one of my favorites. All right, let's get going and see what we see here. All right, first up, Mediha Ness. So good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. I'm not able to communicate well with my current boss. He's new in this industry and he's not going to stay in this either. He's too ambitious, not judging. He should move on. But I feel like collateral damage in his path for moving up. How do I communicate and advocate for myself when all I see is him not respecting and not understanding what I do? And thanks for using members only emojis. So let's see, okay, so your experience is that he's not respecting you, not respecting what you do. And honestly, he doesn't seem to have a lot of knowledge about what you do. When we look at how he's processing all of this, he is well aware that he doesn't know what he's doing. He is well aware of this, and he does not have the character that allows him to say, look, this is not my area of expertise. This is your area of expertise. How can we work together? He doesn't have that kind of character. And so he is uninspired and doesn't really know what to say or do. Look at that. Look at that. 3 aces reversed. He doesn't have a clue. And you're right. This is a problem, not just for you, but for the whole company. So what do you do about it? How do you communicate better? Here's what I'm going to say. I think with those 3 reversed aces, we have to agree that he's not going to be there forever. Number 1. Number 2, I feel like all communication should be documented. If you have verbal communication, follow it up with an email. Just recapping our conversation this morning, just follow it up with an email. If you have things to say to him, say it in an email. And at least you can feel like you are on record. It is not that he disrespects you. It's that he doesn't understand what's going on and he doesn't have enough character to know he needs to say that and acknowledge that. So he thinks other people don't see it, but it's obvious. So he is exquisitely uncomfortable, way more uncomfortable than you are. So I think the thing to do is just document every conversation so that when the poo hits the fan, as we know it's going to, there will be this whole documentation of you telling him what he should have done. Or you at least making your points clear. And I think you got to not personalize it and recognize that in this situation, he is actually more miserable than you are. I'm not saying you should delight in that fact, but, whatever. All right. Febborn, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Another great read. Thank you. At the back of the classroom, can't think of any. Open to advice, though. So, you're in a position where you can have some interesting communication with your family, and you're meeting new friends, meeting new people, and so there's all about communication, and you're a writer. So it's all about communication there. So let's just ask Febborn what it is that you need to know about how you're processing the things that people say to you. And the thing is, I feel like in your family, people will sometimes say kind of like really hurtful things and then just expect it to bounce off. And that's really hard, and I feel like you're a person who really doesn't like that. So your style of communication does not involve saying hurtful things, but it also means that when you have to let someone know that you're upset, you don't necessarily have the language to do it. So I feel like you could learn new ways of communicating in those kinds of conversations that are not easy and are not loving. And that may be a place you want to direct your energy. Trey Cameron, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Met a guy recently, not the same guy as before. Got it. This one randomly reached out to me. Is there a possibility of friendship with or something else with this one? What are his true intentions and how should I communicate with him or even at all? Let's take a look. This feels sort of interesting, right? What are his intentions? I don't think he knows. I think just like you, he's like, let's have a conversation. But, it feels kind of romantic. And just, could there be compatibility here? I think it's worth continuing a conversation. I do. How should you communicate with him? I think you can feel more confident in your communication. I think you should just have a conversation with him, get to know him and let him get to know you and see what happens. If it doesn't work, oh well, nothing ventured, nothing gained, doesn't matter. But I think this is worth a conversation. So how should you communicate with him? Honestly? Openly? Let's see what happens. Trey, oh, that's exciting. Yeah, no guarantees, but it feels like it's worth a conversation. All right. Febborn, I think people shut down when they don't have training on what else to say. I think the shutdown is what we do when we know there's nothing we can say or we don't know what to say. All right, Gemini Sun, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for being a moderator. And seeing you reminds me to remind everyone, Tarot Meetup this Sunday, Panera Bread, Palm City, 4 p.m. If you're local-ish, be there. All right, Gemini Sun, so great to see you. There is possibly some misunderstanding, miscommunication with a family member of mine who I love. They aren't huge on communication, which is kind of the problem because I don't know what they're thinking. Will everything work its way out in this situation? Am I worrying about it for nothing? I feel like there is misunderstanding and judgment toward me from their end, and we used to be close. So it's really upsetting. But I also think they could be going through their own thing, and I'm making up the judgment by overthinking it. I'm unsure if they understand my good intentions. Thank you. Sorry for the long one. This newsletter was perfect for me this week. Well, y'all know, when I decide to do the newsletter, like I told you about my story and what inspired it, but I have like a whole list of things I might write about, and I sit and I think about y'all, and I'm like, which one is going to be most pertinent for everyone today, and I try to pick it psychically. So glad it hit. Good. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. This particular family member. So you used to be close, you're not as close anymore, but that's not necessarily for any particular reason except the passage of time and everyone gets busy, right? Oh my gosh, so many cards on the floor. 1 second. We're not reading them because that was definitely me being clumsy, okay? Which can happen. All right, so when we look at this family member and how they feel about you, they worry about you. They're worried about you. And you see that as judgment. And in a way, it kind of is, because so often we worry about people because we don't understand their life, or we don't approve of their life, or, we just don't get it. And so we worry. So they are worried about you, and that's what you're perceiving as judgment. Why are they worried about you? Because they really don't understand. But they also don't ask. They're not like, hey, what are you up to? What are you doing? As, the way that they probably should be. So it is judgment, but not necessarily in the way that you think. It's the judgment that comes from concern. And what to do with that, honestly, I think with family members like that, and I certainly have some too, with family members like that, we have to appreciate their concern, but I think we have to show them not to worry by living glorious lives. I think that's the best way to do it. Just triumph magnificently, and then they'll realize they never should have worried. But you used to be close, and you're not close now. And that, I think, is upsetting to you because you miss what you had with them. But I think you were closer at a time when you had less of your own life and when you were more biddable, if that, So I don't think this is just you overthinking. I don't. I think there is something here. Is there anything you could do to sort of have a conversation or clear the air? I don't recommend it. Just know that this person cares about you, but does not understand you and therefore worries about you. Should you try to help them understand you more? Absolutely not. No. No, you should just live your best life is what you need to do, and recognize this is their limitation. That's all. All right. Good luck. Justine, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for being a moderator. Thanks for using members-only emojis. As usual, very resonant topic this week and lovely writing inside the newsletter. Thank you. I'm always amazed by how concisely and understandably you're able to write about these deep topics. Thank you. It's honestly amazing coming from a Gemini. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I really love the magic section and the tip you gave. I screenshotted it. It was an important reminder for me to get really clear on what I'm trying to accomplish via how I spend my time. Got it. And hang on. Right, Gemini ascendant, right? Is that it? So hang on. I just overscrolled. Here it is. Your magic tip kind of reminded me of the old saying, sometimes silence and holding your tongue is better than just to talk or fill the silence. Can't remember how it goes exactly, but something like that. I feel this is something only the wise and humble people in society really understand. It's so true. It's so true. Okay. Here it is, Justine. I'm almost afraid to ask my question, but the topic is just too fitting, so here it goes. Since my dad passed away, it will be 7 years on June 1st. Oh my gosh. And man, that death date is so hard, man. When my mother's death date rolls around in October, I feel it every year. Oh my gosh, I get it. I know what you're saying. The balance of our family scale has tipped way out of whack and not in my favor. As a result, I'm regularly scapegoated, gaslighted, nothing new, but in particular, my mom regularly rages at me like I've never seen her get angry with anyone else before. I swear I see fire in her eyes on a regular basis when I've made the most trivial mistakes. For example, putting too much laundry in the washer at one time. I could break her massive, nice, expensive washing machine even though it's only 3/4 full. I want to know why it is that she wouldn't want to help me build my self-esteem and confidence instead of tearing me down and constantly reminding me of all my mistakes and shortcomings, even though she also knows I'm actively working on these things. It seems like she enjoys kicking me when I'm down. A lot. It's really hard to deal with my immediate family members because they're all her flying monkeys. Okay, got it. So what's going on there? What's going on? I think the key is, and the thing you have to recognize, and this is really important. I'm not saying what she's doing is right. I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying this is her dysfunction. And when we're young and when we're growing up, we are privy to our parents' dysfunctions, but we don't recognize them as such because our parents are gods when we're growing up. They are the bestower of all the things. And so what's going on right now is you've got your dysfunction. She has her dysfunction. And she doesn't quite yet have the ability to see her dysfunction as her dysfunction or to see your dysfunction as a dysfunction. So, she doesn't get what's going on. She doesn't get it. And so as hard as it is when she does that, when she goes into that mode, I think you have to recognize that she is showing her dysfunction. She's in her dysfunction. And the thing you need to do is not respond to it. And I know that's hard, but just let her rage and don't feed into it and don't respond to it. And just recognize that's her dealing with her stuff, not in the best way, not in a way that acknowledges any of that, but that's just what she's doing. And so recognize it as dysfunction, not as a parenting technique. I think that's the way you want to look at it. And try not to let that make you, as you deal with what you're dealing with, feel worse. I know that's hard. That's a tall order. But I think that's the key. All right. Joyous Ocean, birth dates and death dates for our loved ones can be a lot. Yeah, absolutely. Barbie Bird, you're up next. Thank you for your kind words about the newsletter. I feel like we can all relate to this one. Thank you. I'm open to advice, especially regarding how I can better communicate and advocate for myself in job interviews. And thanks for being a member, Barbie, and thanks for using members only emojis. How you can better communicate and advocate for yourself in job interviews. Honestly, what I'm going to say is less is more. I think you're someone who likes to be very proactive. It is good to prepare. It is good to know about the company. It is, good to do all of that. But let them lead and you respond to them. And in your responses, try to be as clear and direct and to the point as you can. There's going to be like 4 or 5 more things that you want to add, but I think in this case, less is more. And just let them ask you for what they want and what they need. You don't want to overwhelm them. I think that's really the key. Okay. Linus Art, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Virginia W, hope to see you this Sunday, 4 p.m., Panera. So happy to be able to say that to you. Thanks for being here, Virginia W. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for using members only emojis. I love the newsletter. Thank you. But if I avoid everyone who leaves me second guessing, I'll end up avoiding everyone. No! What will happen when we tell a travel buddy that we don't want to travel this year? Well, first of all, let me just say, you just made a major freaking move. A major freaking move. I could understand not wanting to travel for a year or 2 as you get settled in your new home. You're traveling every day just trying to figure out which Publix to go to. So, I would think a real friend would kind of understand inherently, right? That's just my opinion. But here we go. This travel buddy, when you tell them that you don't want to travel, I think they'll understand exactly as I do. It makes perfect sense. They might be disappointed because they like to travel with you, but it makes perfect sense. It really does. It's obvious. So I think you and I have this in common. I think you feel guilty about disappointing someone, but you got to do you. That's the key. Gianna, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. We appreciate you. My communication skills have plummeted so much after the pandemic and since working from home now and living in a tiny town with no one to talk to. It feels so difficult to get those skills back. Are those communication skills or small talk skills? Any words of wisdom from the cards today for me on this topic? I know for a lot of us, what the pandemic did, when we didn't have to deal with randos all the time, we forgot how to do small talk. We forgot how to do polite small talk. And, I think during the pandemic, a lot of us made time. I spent more time talking to my friends over Zoom during the pandemic than I ever did before or since. So it's an interesting thing, right? So what are the skills that you've lost? Okay, Page of Pentacles reversed. So that's definitely a communication skill because pages are communication. I think this is the very practical communication skills. This is not about communicating with good friends or loved ones. You're fine with that. This is the relief. And when I say this, I am so sorry. A lot of us lost people in the pandemic. I'm not trying to make any part of the pandemic good. But wasn't there, if we're honest, wasn't there a certain relief for a lot of us of, oh my gosh, I don't have to go to that thing. I don't have to. I don't have to go there. I don't have to do that. And I don't have to have all of that small talk. And so I think this is not so much, Gianna, oh hell yes, the relief was huge in many ways, right? So I don't think this is necessarily specifically a loss of communication skills, necessarily, as much as it is a realization that your communication skills don't naturally include, cocktail party conversation, small talk, that kind of thing. Is it a skill? Absolutely, yes. Is it a skill we need? Unfortunately, yes. But I think it is good to build up those skills. But again, I don't really want to call it communication skills. Like, it is, but it's a very specific type of communication, I think. And, unless you are naturally an extrovert, you're not going to be good at this. But what can you do to improve those? Don't bother. I'm going to say don't. I think the communication skills you need to communicate effectively with coworkers, clients, whatever, people you care about, friends, family, you're fine. You don't know what to say to the person sitting across from you at the social. In which case, say, "This cake is delicious," and move on. I would say don't try. Don't try, and don't see it as a lack. Is that bad? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Gianna, but it backfired. Maybe it didn't backfire, Gianna. Maybe it didn't backfire at all. Maybe it just helped you understand about you that, yeah, we don't do that. And I think that happens like in life. You can come to a certain age where you're just like, yeah, no, I don't participate in that. I don't do that. And it could be, I don't eat that, or I don't enjoy that kind of music, or whatever. I don't do that. So yeah, I think that's fine. Gianna, I'm laughing so hard. Thank you. Okay, good. Because that's really how I interpret the cards here. Oh, Jenny, thank you. You are the best. Thank you. I will be at Panera. Excellent. We are still camping out here. Our new furniture will not arrive until August. No. But all the readings have been soothing to me. Perfect. Perfect. All right. And who is up next? It is Claire C. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. We appreciate you. I have communication issues with my granddaughter because I cannot hear her voice tone very well and she speaks fast. Right. What will help? I already have a hearing aid. I realize that you would really like to be able to have easier conversations with her, but it is harder. You can try different environments. You can try really trying to be face to face with her. But it might be helpful. I'm betting she has a phone. Does she have a phone? Maybe you should just text. Maybe you can even sit in the same room and text with each other. That might help. But yeah, this is going to be difficult. And I think too, one of the blessings when it's hard to communicate is it really kind of condenses down to what are the most important things to say. Like, for example, if I'm reading for someone where English is not their first language and they're not great at English and there is no translator there, I'm going to change what I do in a reading. And instead of really expounding on things and talking about things, I'm going to be like, what are the most important sentences for me to say and to make sure this person gets? And so I think this is one where there's not going to be that flow of conversation that you want, but you can find a way to communicate effectively. All right. Okay. Kimmy's Divination Station. So good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. We appreciate you. Communication is key for me now. I'm applying for jobs, apartments, and crafting my case to find help with my legal issues. How am I doing? Well, it's hard because you have years and years and years of anger that you swallowed. And now it's all there. And what you really want to do is just be communicating all of the things that have hurt you and pissed you off and upset you. And you need to feel that anger and you need to be able to process that anger. But everything that you're communicating for your own forward motion cannot be from a space of anger. And I'm not saying it is. It has to be from a space of strategy. But you have been told for years that you cannot do exactly what you're doing. You've been told that it cannot work. And so I think there's a lot of communication going on inside of you as well. Like, can I even do this? Is this okay? And I think you need to communicate with yourself first and foremost that what you're doing is good and okay and what you need to do. And it feels, I think, like a knee jerk because like it wasn't the plan and then it was. But I think this is a situation where you were refusing to see something for a long time and now you're choosing to see it. So once again, the most important communication here is communication with yourself. Make sure you're dealing with the anger and processing it, but make sure all of the communication you're doing is strategic. All right. Oh, Claire, she used to beg me to tell her stories and we had long chats. I miss that. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. Rose. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for using members only emojis. How may I presently listen without being clouded by old wounds? Stay present in communication is the most smoothing I can do right now. Guidance. Well, the question is, are the old wounds that you're trying not to have cloud you, are they old wounds from somewhere else, from other people? Or are they wounds caused by the very people you're trying to communicate with? That's the question. Because if it's old wounds from another place, then the way you do that, it's exactly right. It's staying present and it's taking a moment. Hear it, process it, and if you find it triggering, ask them to say it a different way so you can understand. Don't jump to a conclusion. But if you're being clouded by what the very people you're trying to communicate with have done in the past, that is a very different story because that's not a cloud, that's a reality. And I think that reality has to be present in the conversation. You have to be able to say, well, I'm upset by this because it reminds me of this, and this was bad and worrisome, and I don't want to see a repeat of it. And that has to be on the table. So I think there's a question, depending on which conversations we're talking about, whether or not the past should be on the table. Empowering, not smoothing, but they both work. That's funny, Rose. But I feel like you want to be more empowering, but what you've been trained to be is more smoothing. So that's very interesting. Kimmy, I will look forward to your email. Rose, that makes sense, but it's tougher than simple acceptance. Well, yeah, because if you accept someone treating you like crap, guess what's going to happen? They'll treat you like crap some more. All right. Jeannie Mnuchin. So great to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. We appreciate you. There has been a lot of disorganization and lack of effort from the bilingual class with only 2 weeks left until performance. How can I impress on the women who have no theater experience that they need to work hard to be ready? What can I do in the way I'm communicating with them? Man, I remember being in a semi-professional slash like high-level community theater production and having the director say to us, people, there's going to be paying butts in these seats in a few weeks. We got to give them something for their money. I remember that just triggered that. That's funny. But not funny for you. I know what you're saying. So I think what you have to do is communicate like in the simplest way possible what needs to be done. I think they really just don't know. I think they don't know. They don't know, they don't understand. And that's my nightmare, man. I'm on stage and I haven't even read the script. I hate that dream. Do you guys get that dream? I get that dream. I'm on stage. I don't know the show. I'm in a lead role. I don't know the show. Haven't read the script. It's opening night. Hello. Yeah. But these people obviously don't have this problem, right? They're not worried about it. Why? Why? I think what you have to do is be more clear and specific about your direction. Every single detail. I think that's what it is. How will it be? How will it be? It's actually going to be very good for what it is. It really will be. So just work with the energy. It'll be okay. Okay. Imee, thanks for being here. How can I communicate with my ex and tell him it was misunderstanding? And if this is going to work, so it sounds like you're trying to get back together with your ex. But why? Because if there's a misunderstanding here, I feel like the misunderstanding is on your part. I think you're misunderstanding the best that this situation could be. Like, why aren't you running in the other direction? That's what I want to know. Caroline McLaughlin, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for using members only emojis. Ben Lieber does tarot. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for being a moderator. Thanks for using members only emojis. Very general question. How can I best hone my communication skills right now? My job is all about getting the clear messages across, Muggle and spiritual, actually, yep. And I always feel I waffle. Are you waffling? I think the waffling comes from wanting to make sure it lands, so giving it like a lot of cushion so it lands well. The bottom line here is, like, there's two things at work. Two queens. One is compassion, the other is confidence. Right now, I think you have more compassion than you have confidence. As you gain more confidence, the two of those will work together. That's all. It's a confidence issue. Peggy Lou, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you. And you'll sign up for membership again as soon as possible. Well, you've been a member here for a very long time. We really appreciate you. Working on mindfulness. How can I deal with the people that don't communicate kindly? I lost most of my closest family within 2 years. I'm so sorry. How do I deal with others? Oh my gosh, and you were in the hospital. I'm so sorry to hear that. The people who don't communicate kindly, I'm going to say communicate with them as little as possible. And even if you live with them, like you can live with them and don't talk to them. You know, you can say like, where'd you put the scissors? But if you don't have to talk to them, don't. Just don't. There it is. People who don't communicate kindly don't get the privilege of communication with you. Jeannie, thank you. So familiar with the theater dream. On stage, forgot the script. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. My parents did theater. They did theater together. They met because they were handcuffed together in a play. That's how they met. 3 months later, they were married. So I spent a lot of my youth running lines with my parents. So yeah, that's really funny. All right. Linus Art, you are up next. Bad confidence issues? Me? Surely not. I'm working on it. Love seeing the two queens, though. They go with your Libra Scorpio sides. I was praying for that queen because I started saying, you know, because I saw the Queen of Cups. I'm like, okay, it's compassion and confidence. That's the problem. So the next card has to be about confidence. I start talking about hoping the next card is going to come into my conversation appropriately. And boy, howdy did it. Love it. All right, Linus Art, thanks for being here. My question is, can I get a message through the cards from my mother who passed in 2008? We weren't on speaking terms. I'm so sorry. Lots of dysfunction since childhood. Your mother recognizes that she did not always make good decisions, and she blamed other people for her own bad decisions. This is part of the healing that she has found. So she recognizes it was her. In life, she did not want to recognize that. Okay. Caroline, I don't see a question from you yet. Did I miss it? Gemini, thank you. Gemini Sun. It's so hard to not want to explain and help people understand. Man, I'm all about my family today. My grandmother's pillow. My mother made a pillow for my grandmother with one of her favorite expressions, which was, never complain, never explain. And never explain is hard because we want people to know where we're coming from. But if they're not asking us, screw them. And now you know where I get that entire screw 'em attitude from. It was my grandmother. Okay. Hey, Jackie, good to see you. Vaishali, you are up next. Thanks for being here. Vaishali, cards for today's topic. So it's about communication. So let's look at communication for you, Vaishali. And the thing is, you are actively working on it. You are actively working on trying to figure out the best ways to communicate with people around you. And the thing we have to understand is there are a few people around you who will never understand you no matter how much you try, so don't even bother. Just put your energy toward communicating where it's going to serve you, and it does. And Joyous Ocean, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for using members-only emojis. How can I improve my communication? I think I'm pretty good, but slow. I take a long time to find the right words so there's clarity and no misunderstanding. Yeah, I think you are an effective communicator for the most part, and you're getting better. I think what happens for you, though, is, yeah, it takes time. You know, so you should not be a trial lawyer. You know, you should not be someone who has to do things in real time. You are much better, and you're much better saying to people, give me some time to think on that and get my thoughts together and let me come back. Like, don't be afraid to take that space with people when there's a communication quandary, to give yourself time, because yeah, you are slow, but it comes in a good way. So you should just give yourself the time that you need, and it's not slow at all. It's the amount of time you need. That's what I would do. Oh, Barbie Bird. Checking my reading on replay. Good timing because I have another round of interviews next week. I struggle with keeping it short or feeling confident I answered it correctly. And man, that is the thing. When we are nervous, we talk too much. So you project power and confidence if you answer the question and leave it. And Barbie, I've given in to asking if I answered it. Well, I mean, I think that can work. I think that can work sometimes, as long as it doesn't make you sound like you're not confident. Okay. Who's up next? It is my good friend, Melissa Grosso. So good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for using members-only emojis. Here we go. Thanks for the newsletter. I have a work-related potential miscommunication question. A female business partner, B, seems to like me very much. I've tried to partner with her on events, etc., but there's never any follow-up on her part, and she can be very scatterbrained. Lots of talk, but not much action. She recently canceled some recurring calls we have. I've reached out to her to reschedule, but have not heard back. Wondering if I am PNG'd by her. I don't know what that means. Or if I am misunderstanding her lack of communication. What's PNG'd mean? I feel like I should know that, but I don't know what it is. But I want to know. Oh, persona non grata. You know what? I live in Techland over here. And so for me, PNG is a file format for pictures, for images. And I'm like, you're an image file format? What, like, okay, thank you. Thank you. So let's see. Right? Okay. So, does she like you very much? We're going to start with that. She seems to like you very much, but does she really? Not only does she like you, she admires you, yes. So why? Why does she never... These are her issues, man. She's got issues. I don't know if it's personal or professional, but she's got issues. She is not grounded. She's not talking about what the issues are. Don't take this personally. But honestly, if there's going to be a collaboration, let her come to you because she's got issues. Seriously. Vaishali, thank you so much for my reading. You're absolutely right about my communication skills. I'm trying to improve it. Your readings are always so accurate and resonate with me completely. Well, thank you so much. All right. Peggy Lou, thank you, Christiana. How does one learn to communicate better? For all of us. You communicate brilliantly. That's you talking to me. In certain circumstances, not in all. None of us are excellent communicators all the time. I promise you that. You hear me communicating in a very specific environment, frankly, where I make the rules. So it's hard for all of us. How do we learn to communicate better? A lot of it is confidence. A lot of it is taking the time. And a lot of it, like I do read. I read a lot about how to communicate and what the different skills are. So I read about it. That's another thing. There are plenty of books. So I read on it too. Persona non grata, Peggy Lou, is a person that we don't want around. The person who's not welcome around. Okay. All righty. Caroline, did you have a question? I did not see one. From my perspective, I've done every reading. If I accidentally skipped someone, I'm so sorry. Please reiterate. And it is last call for readings, y'all. I want to thank you so much for being here. Special shout out, of course, to the members and moderators. Really looking forward to seeing my Florida peeps, the ones who can get to me, at Panera Bread in Palm City, Sunday at 4. And when is our next thing? Our June stuff is up. I want to say we have, Wednesday, a week from yesterday, Global Tarot Circle. The link is already up, so I do hope you'll plan on joining us for that. And there's a link right in the description to book a session. Book a session. I'm open. Ooh, who? Melissa, I see you talking about someone's content that you love to incorporate tips, including speaking slower and saying fewer words. I don't see it who it is. But yeah, there are lots of videos and books and blog posts and all of that for better communication. So yeah, find them. Absolutely. My friends, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. I will be back tomorrow with the Friday weekly wrap up. It is all scheduled, so hit that bell, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon.